From the beginning, the Metal Gear games have always delivered state-of-the-art audio as part of the gameplay experience. For the audio team at Kojima Productions, the expectations were set very high for Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots. The game was expected to not only match previous efforts, but far exceed them. No one has been putting more pressure on the team than the team itself. There are many different aspects and layers to the audio featured in a video game. It's not just a matter of adding in music, voiceover, and sound effects. Each of these aspects has to be individually created and recorded first, and then seamlessly blended into a surround sound experience that plays out in real time.
It really is a very visceral experience when you have the sound on it. Mr. Kojima worked very closely with Mr. Tojima in a lot of kind of ideas he had for a next generation game. And so you're going to see this with MGS4 that not only is it going to be a 5.1 Dolby surround sound, but that we're doing a lot of different things that people haven't attempted before.
そのプレイステーション3という新しいパワーのあるハード、それに小島プロダクションというのを掛け算すると大変なことになるんですね。でも新しいプラットフォームで最初のゲームなのに、ちょっと自分ではこれ以上のことが考えられないぐらいにですね、すごく複雑な仕様になってます。でブルーレイのストリームというのが走っていて、それからハードディスクの中に何本ものマルチストリームが走っていて、それに加えて、オンメモリのサウンドがなる。でそれらがインタラクティブに、コントロールされていくというのはとても難しくて、でもすごくエキサイティングなサウンドができているんじゃないかなと思います。
実際にゲームをやって必要な音を自分で考えて、作って鳴らしてもらうと。
Rounding out the soundscape is the musical score, used to create ambience, evoke an emotional response, or resonate a particular moment in the game.
Being a film composer, mostly I'm used to watching the picture and getting my inspiration from there. But without the images at this stage, I had to depend a lot on what Hideo Kojima told me about what he wanted from me. So I think we have a strong theme. He told me that Snake is on his last legs. He's getting a little old now. So I wanted a kind of deliberate, firm theme. Acoustic guitar was his idea.
There's something a little innocent, but also macho.
小島秀夫はその映画の世界にも、それから音響の世界にもすごく関心が高いのでですね、これまでもハリウッドとかいろんな方のお力借りてきたんですけども、その中でもスカイウォーカーランチは小島秀夫にとっても僕にとってもやはり夢の一つという場所であって、それがついに実現したっていう形です。
Performing voiceover for Metal Gear Solid 4 is not merely reciting lines on a page. The stories in the Metal Gear series are deeper and more complicated than many movies or novels. As such, every actor must perform as if their character were a real, nuanced person, in an effort to maintain realism and to ensure an emotional investment from the player.
Use it to shoot the gecko!
I try to keep variety in mind. You don't want all your villains sounding the same. So you try to hone out the individual traits that each of these villains would have. You know, Ocelot is so incredibly flamboyant.
悪役をやらせていただくというのは随分儲け物といいますか贅沢といいますか、他の人よりずっと楽しいんじゃないかと思いながらやらせていただくんですけれども。
Whereas Vamp is so stealthily villainous. You try to choose the actors, that match the traits of the character and the drawing and the description.
Snake,
As you'll recall, following the Shadow Moses incident 9 years ago, Naomi was detained by the authorities, but someone arranged for her escape.
I had to work with Chris and the producers on kind of developing the voice that they were looking for to match this newer, war-torn, post-apocalyptic cyber ninja Raiden.
You may be the hunter, but you are also the hunted.
小島監督と好きなようにまずさせてくれるんですよ。でそれから、軌道修正ちょっとずれたりした時に直してくれる。そのアドバイスがすごく的確だったので本当にスムーズにできました。
ゲームの監督が全て、録音に立ち会ってこういうビジョンなんだっていうようなことってなかなかその現場に来て言ってくれる人も少なくて、でその中で小島監督というのは僕が迷子にならないようにちゃんと来てくださって、それで、ビジョンはこうです、だからこんな風になりますっていうことを明確に僕に伝えてくれるんで非常に仕事がしやすいですね。
When the MGS4 project started, we started thinking about how we're going to approach voiceover work. We had a pretty good outline of how we're going to approach it, and we had a substantial size script, but we didn't really think it was going to take more than a few months. And so here I sit now, just wrapping up the 9th session after 10 months of working on and off with Chris and the team. We haven't sacrificed anything to make a high-quality experience.
Before, it was all about the graphics and the gameplay. It's now slowly becoming about getting in the right actors and making sure it sounds good.
一言で言ってしまうと、リアルになってしまうんですけど、とにかくたくさんの銃声が鳴るんですけれども。
A big part of the sound design process for the Metal Gear games begins here in the Foley studio, with a seemingly endless variety of items that range from the bizarre and obscure to products you'll find in almost any household. The Foley artist uses these instruments to represent what is seen on screen. Sometimes the most obvious choices work, as seen here, with different footwear representing the diverse footsteps for each character, while other products become sound effects for items that are not so apparent.
This is Snake. Do you read me?
What happens if it's the first time the player hears it?
This is Snake. Do you read me?
Excellent. Quality of the script and the length of the scripts are starting to feel a lot more like feature films. You know, years ago, doing a video game was just short, choppy lines that involved the gameplay. But once these stories started evolving and these wonderful scripts like Metal Gear, you can really get some nice pieces of acting out of the actors.
I think Chris tends to ride these guys a little hard. She wants to make sure that she's getting everything out of these guys. Then again, she's known these guys for years and years.
You can have your panic attack here, 172, in.
Damn it! They got the Mark III! It's all over, Snake!
Good. Not only volume, but you're heartbroken here.
The characters, especially the soldiers, have different emotional states. And so we had to go through this process, Chris and I, of recording hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lines of dialogue that will come up depending on the emotional state of the soldier. And we're recording the same lines, but with these different emotional undertones. So that whole process, and it's very complex because obviously we have to work very closely with the programmers to make sure that that comes out at proper states. So that process has been very tiring, and but I think ultimately rewarding because you're not going to have a static performance every time you play the game.
I feel very fortunate to be doing Metal Gear Solid 4 because it seems to be a culmination of everything that we've been doing with the previous games.
The strings can give it a tragic kind of nature, but you may not want that so much.
今回実はまたそこでも初挑戦なことをしていまして、今回メタルギアシリーズでは初めてアフレコという形を取りました。今までだいたい先に音声を取ってから、モーションキャプチャーしたり映像を作っていったんですけども、それだとやっぱ距離感が合わなかったりするんですよね。怒鳴ってほしいのに怒鳴らないとか、すごく近くにいるのに怒鳴ってるとか、そういうのがたくさんあったこともあって、今回は初めてアフレコに挑戦しました。
Japanese animation has already been set forth and it's already locked in. And we work with motion capture actors that were recorded in Japan. So we have the scenes physically acted out by the motion capture actors. And then we go in and add the US voices to that. So we have to make sure that it matches the raising of a hand, the cock of a head.
Doing it to the Japanese motion control actors, and it was very, very funny, and at the same time, so effective for performance because, you know, they do little things with their bodies, and every time he moves or he reaches up for something, I can put that into the voice. It's much better for performance. It's very funny to watch the behind the scenes as it's coming together, especially the monkey, who is played by a guy, a regular-sized guy, and he's walking around and doing his monkey thing.
Once the sound effects, the voice acting, and the layers of music are completed and incorporated into the game, they are tuned to perfection, so that the overall experience of Metal Gear Solid 4 is amplified and unforgettable. The capital city of Hyogo Prefecture, Kobe, is a major port located in the southern region of Japan. It's in this city where Hideo Kojima began his illustrious career in video games.
最初神戸ですね。神戸で、開発5部というそれこそ10人ぐらいの部署を任されて、人を集めて作ったのが、ですかね、93年ぐらいですかね、1990。
Kobe seemed like an idyllic place for the young team to create games, but in the early hours of Tuesday, January 17, 1995, as many commuters were about to begin their day, the great Hanshin earthquake devastated Kobe.
その後、神戸に地震があって、で大阪に移転するんですけども、大阪であれば東京でもいいかなと。
The team decided to move across the country to Ebisu in Tokyo to finish work on Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty. And then later, the newly formed Kojima Productions had an office across town in Roppongi Hills, where the team celebrated the completion of Metal Gear Solid 3: Snake Eater.
で東京の恵比寿に会社を作ったのが96年です。でそこから東京の人を集めて、小島プロダクションの原型ができたということになります。
However, it's here in Tokyo Midtown and Roppongi, where Kojima Productions have now set up shop and are working on Metal Gear Solid 4: Guns of the Patriots.
Roppongi is famous for being the international district. It used to be a place where like the American military used to hang out. There's lots of bars, lots of clubs, and it's still that way now, but it's become more of a business district. We've been here for 4 years now, just making games.
The company's various moves over the years pale in comparison to the frequent flyer miles that Kojima-san and his crew rack up in order to salute their many fans across the world. Every year, the video game world holds several key events to bring developers and gamers together, and Kojima Productions sets up shop at almost all of them. The annual Electronic Entertainment Exposition, or E3, began in 1995 in Los Angeles, California. The conference stopped in Atlanta for a couple of years before returning to Southern California for the past decade. But it was here at E3 in Atlanta 1997 that Metal Gear Solid for the original PlayStation first made its global debut. The gaming world hasn't been the same since. Meanwhile, back home in Japan and virtually in Kojima Productions' backyard, the Tokyo Game Show first opened its doors in 1996, and the company has been a regular attendee ever since. The show is especially important to Kojima and his colleagues because it's open to the general public.
まずいろんな海外のショーに行くのは、やっぱりユーザーの人と直接会って、話をしたり触れることでエネルギーをもらえるっていうのが一番。
In the Southern Hemisphere, the Go 3 exhibition takes place in Perth, Australia. And in 2007, Hideo Kojima was a featured speaker.
日本にいるとやっぱり アメリカのユーザーの人、あるいはヨーロッパのユーザーの人とかアジアのユーザーの人のことはあまりわからないので、直接行くとどの部分が良かったのかとか、どういうところにメタルの人気があるのかとか、どれぐらいの人気があるのかっていうのはもう肌で分かりますし、それを見ることで先ほどの訓練じゃないですけども、やっぱり作るものは変わってくると思います。
Held annually since 2002, the Leipzig Games Convention in Germany plays host to thousands of gamers and game makers and has become a crucial stop for Kojima Productions during their video game convention globetrotting. At the inaugural Entertainment for All Expo held in October 2007 in Los Angeles, Kojima Productions offered attendees the first playable taste of Metal Gear Solid 4 in North America.
I think it's the biggest game at the show. I really do think so. From the very beginning, on Thursday morning, we had 100 guys lined up to play the game.
Kojima Productions has also hosted launch events for their games at local stores where players can come and meet some of the Metal Gear creators. Over the airwaves, members of Kojima Productions regularly take part in and even host radio and online broadcasts as a way of reaching out to the fans. Hundreds of thousands of listeners tune into new recordings of the Kojima Productions Report every week for the latest in Metal Gear news and information.
The fans, I think they appreciate the work. They love to know what's going on behind the scenes, and which is why we've been making a point over the past few years to kind of be a little more open and let them kind of peek into the studio.
From the very start, staying in touch with what gamers have to say about their work has been a central, defining aspect of the team at Kojima Productions. This respect for their audience will continue as the team moves on beyond Metal Gear Solid 4.
I feel lucky. I mean, I'm doing something different every day. And one day I'm in Hollywood, the next day I'm in Australia, and the next day I'm in a country in Eastern Europe, I'm in Africa. This project, MGS4, is taking me around the world, and I'm very grateful for that.
When I was 10 years old, my dad moved us out to more of a rural area, and so all of a sudden I'm kind of by myself, just with me and my little brother. And I found myself spending more time inside and playing a lot more games. And I think that's what really kind of kicked things off.
I would rather them be outside. And with this 2 acres we've got, they could have done lots of fun things out here, but they'd rather be down there and with their buddies playing these games, and they have a whole bunch of friends over. And
Friday nights.
Drinking all my Pepsi and Cokes, and
Saturday nights.
Everything I'd buy, bring home, the kids would come and just take it out of my pantry. There'd be nothing left.
Sunday mornings.
They'd be down there all night and into the next morning playing video games.
It really wasn't until I got the first PlayStation and I saw what games had become with this, like a CD-based format. You have voiceovers, you have more cinematic quality and experience. That was a really big change for me. I moved on from a gamer to more interested in the creative aspect, that everything that goes into these games all of a sudden isn't just about the gameplay, but it's about the music and the voiceovers and the total experience. So it really was when Metal Gear Solid hit that I realized that, wow, this is a totally different direction than I thought that video games would ever go in, and I want to be involved.
See, I've done about 15 trips across the pond from Tokyo to LA for this project alone. I think this is my 12th trip to LA this year, and we're only in October, and I expect to have 3 or 4 more before New Year's.
Well, I've always been a bit of a workaholic, even in university. I was working while studying at a pretty difficult school, and it wasn't more so to make money, but I always need to be stimulated. I always need to be working on something.
Well, Ryan was always driven. He's always wanted to be an overachiever. He took the toughest class he could.
I knew he'd be like a workaholic. That was obvious because he's always doing something with school and writing and internships.
With Ryan, he tended to balance his life pretty well as far as his studies, his social life, and his video games.
I had a big idea that he'd land in the video game industry. He was always writing about it, and he started a website for video game reviews.
で、ライアンはものすごい働くんですよ。僕が知ってるアメリカ人で一番働くと思いますけど。
So I've always kept myself busy, which is why I think this job has been a pretty perfect fit because it keeps me busy, around the clock.
I think people have been pretty receptive to a kind of an American face of the studio. Here we finally has got somebody who was born and raised in America, who's not doing this for fame or for fortune, but really out of love for games. This is why I've been sacrificing my weekends and not seeing my family for 3 years now.
The day had come that I had my bags packed, I was ready to move to Japan. And my parents knew this was going to happen. I think when I entered university and I started studying Japanese, I think they kind of could tell that one of these days he's probably going to move to Japan and use this language that he's been studying. So sure enough, that day came.
It was hard, but it was really hard watching Kathy when we left him in Seattle to get on the plane to go to Japan.
I physically could not get my legs to move. I just stood there. It was incredibly hard.
It was one of the hardest things I've ever seen, to watch my wife watch her son go off to a very different land than ours.
We all thought he'd come back pretty soon, but he started liking it and started working a lot, and he started landing that Kojima job, and everyone started getting real proud of him. That was really nice to actually see him do something.
Being in Tokyo, being in Roppongi specifically, where the studio is, where I'm living, it's a weird place because it's very international, and we have the coffee shops, the same restaurants that you would find on the west coast of the United States. But being here in Tokyo and working at the studio, it's been a great privilege, but I don't really spend a lot of time at home here in this kind of confined space. A lot of work, but the environment's it's very clean, it's very safe, and I'm pretty fortunate for that. It took a while I think, to get the trust of Mr. Kojima, because everybody who joins the studio, we almost have 200 people working on MGS4. And everybody's got motivation. They have a purpose or a goal that they want to fulfill by joining the studio, by doing those long hours. And obviously, Mr. Kojima wants to know that. So it took some time. We had a lot of quality time when we were researching the game in Eastern Europe, and we went on that week-long stay. And all these different trade shows, from Tokyo Game Show to E3, where we're sharing every meal together. That's where he really got to, I think, to know me and know that I'm not doing this for fame or to get my name out there, but I'm doing this because I love Metal Gear. And after about 1.5 years, I think he was willing to give me a chance. My specific role on the game is really hard to describe because every day I'm doing something different. And in Japan, on almost every video game development team, you have the token gaijin, or the token foreigner, who's in charge of English. I'm one of the producers on the title. I'm an assistant producer, which means that I can work on all elements of the game. I'm traveling around the world on research trips. I'm helping with master submissions. I'm helping with packaging. I'm helping with gameplay balancing. And for a guy like me who needs constant stimulation, it's perfect.
We were able to visit his office the last time we were in Tokyo, and I know that it was unusual for people to go in and visit while they were working, and I was just amazed of just how many people were there and how hard they were working.
When I walked in the place, here he's got 200 guys on one floor of this building, and they all have their PlayStation and they have their computer and their 2 monitors putting out heat, plus them, all in there, and they got the air conditioning going full blast, and it's still hot in there. How did they get guys to do this? But they must have a passion for it.
When I was over there and I saw him in Japan, it's cool to see him in his element and interacting with people, and it's completely different than when he is over here. And
I find that the people that I've met that Ryan has introduced us to, that he works with, they seem to have a really great working relationship with Ryan.
It's always interesting when you have, something that I've been working on and that a certain team has been working on for so long. To have a new person come in, there's always that, kind of, what's going to happen over here? How much are you going to try to change? And I think Ryan and I really see eye to eye on the characters, and I think that we really also see eye to eye on the performances, to the point where in the session, he'll be starting to say something, and I'll say it to the actor, and we'll both say, "Get out of my head."
Working with Ryan was great. I mean, you talk about somebody who's on it and has just encyclopedic knowledge of what to draw on. Ryan and Chris, they're like a machine. You put them together and you got a working machine. It's amazing.
僕らは日本人のほとんど日本人です。フランス人とかいますけど、90% ぐらい日本人で日本でゲームを作ってるんですけど、やっぱりそれでは世界に向けてのものづくりは非常に不完全なんですよ。でライアンがにいろんなものをチェックしてもらって、ライアンがアメリカ代表ではないんですけども、ライアンの意見を取り入れることで、若干今までとはちょっと違うメタルギアソリッドにはなっていると思いますので、非常にありがたいですね。
We have 200 people working on this game for 3 years who dedicate every day of their lives to it, including a lot of weekends, and they're going home at the last train. And those are like the real stars in the studio. I'm grateful for what I've been giving, but other times I feel almost a certain sense of guilt because you get credit for stuff that you don't do.
My family and getting back home to the States is always in the back of my mind. But I've got a number of ideas for games, and I've pitched several ideas to Mr. Kojima. Nothing that's gone through any kind of pre-production phases, but I'm always thinking, and I'm always waiting for that opportunity.
I miss my family. If there was ever a reason to go back home, it would be to spend more time with my family. I have a great job. I live in a great city, but it lacks one thing, and that is my family.
We've been very fortunate that Ryan's been home. In fact, he might be home more than a lot of young men that go off and start their careers. And so we feel very fortunate that Ryan comes home as often as he does.
I do miss him, He's my older brother, and it's good to have him around sometimes.
I thought that this video game industry was going to be a phase, and it would kind of go away. And then now I'm kind of thinking maybe this was a good move. And he's obviously good at it, so why not go for what you're good at?
It's a comfortable place to be. I mean, there's a lot of pressure still. I mean, there's a pressure to succeed and to be #1, and it's always on your shoulders, and it's hard to forget. But on the other hand, I'm surrounded by people that love games and they're so cool and so talented that I really embraced this opportunity that I had. And despite the fact that there's hard times and certain sacrifices I had made, but all in all, it's just been an incredible experience and one that I would never give up.
Roll camera.
More smoke.
Okay, here we go. We're rolling.
Action.
For me, it's been kind of 3 years in the making. First, we talked about doing a logo, and then all of a sudden, we're talking about the opening movie.
I'm gonna get it right.
Alex, the mastermind behind the studio. The Logan guys, they have the experience, they have that creative eye, and they've made a big name for themselves, making really cutting-edge commercials and visual effects.
I've worked in a lot of places before to realize I wanted it a different way. I still believe that you can do large commissions and big projects without turning into a corporate shop. You can stay relaxed about it, and we want people to have a great time being here, working with us, trying to make things great.
What we're doing here is pretty revolutionary, I think, in video games. People just kind of give us this look because nobody's ever attempted this before. It's basically a parody on American television, but with a little bit of a darker edge because it's still set in the Metal Gear Solid 4 world. And this is basically like a cool way of giving the player an idea of what the world of MGS4 is like.
The task was to come up with an interpretation. But so each individual show is meant to be a completely different piece of content that some futuristic, non-existent TV network would create. On top of that, there's 5 different commercials for each PMC. It's just kind of a massive undertaking. You have to pretend to be 20 different people that came up with these ideas. It's kind of like a schizophrenic exercise.
The first one I wrote was the cooking show.
Target. Action. Nicely kneel. Easy on the heart.
We have the chef who's out of the ordinary. He's not a friendly guy from the kitchen, but we have him cooking for the family. He has a co-host named Rachel. She's taken aback by some of his gestures and the way he speaks.
Cut. Got there.
This could be the first channel that comes up. So when they look at this, we want that WTF moment, but we also want them to be intrigued and want to keep watching.
We have been planning this movie sequence for a long time, like 1.5 years. We're gonna shoot the whole thing in 6 days, only 6 days. But Team Logan is very, very talented, so we trust them.
We were thinking of shooting on film, and because of the schedule, and we decided to go with HD video. Red seemed the way to go. Now we've got this 4K resolution files. We're bypassing telecine. We're able to control every part of the process. There's a massive amount of cleanup work that needs to happen on green screen footage, even live action footage of a praying mantis plates where we need to track it. We need to computer generated elements that perfectly match the perspective and the angle and the speed.
The scum who wishes They didn't try. Wakey, wakey. Praying mantis.
It's really beautiful the way that this opening project has come to be. It's been over a decade in the making. It's Ken, our producer, and Alex, the lead over at Logan, being art school friends, always promising each other that they're going to work together at some point in the future. And here we are, many, many years later, and we need an opening movie for Metal Gear Solid 4, and then we want something cutting edge in pop culture. That's what Logan's made for. Watching Alex deliver the final build and having Ken there and watching them load the final files into the game is really cool to see. It's kind of nice to see that this friendship has lasted for so long and they finally accomplished something that they promised such a long time ago.